If you have thought about retiring early, you probably heard of the 4% rule. Although this rule is famous in the early retirement communities, solely relying on it for retirement planning is a disaster. In this video, I will show you a more sophisticated way to figure out how much you really need to retire early and comfortably. Part 1. The 4% rule. Most people who have thought about retirement have probably heard about the 4% rule. It's a really simple rule of thumb to calculate how much you need in retirement. But as we will see, it doesn't give the full picture. The 4% rule says if you are retiring for 30 years and you hold 50% of your portfolio in stocks and 50% of your portfolio in bonds, you can withdraw 4% of your retirement savings, adjusted for inflation, without ever running out of money. This means what you will need in retirement is how much you will ideally spend per year divided by 0.04. If you spend 50K per year, you will need 50K divided by 0.04, and that's 1.25 million. If you spend 25K per year, you will need 25K divided by 0.04, and that's 625K. Simple. But the 4% rule rarely scratches the surface of what you need to retire early and comfortably. Part 2. The problem with the 4% rule. I said that the 4% rules answer the question, if I want to spend X each year, how much do I need to retire for 30 years? The thing is, that's actually a pretty bad question, and bad question leads to bad answers. There are at least 5 reasons why the 4% rule is problematic. Luckily, the more sophisticated rules that we'll talk about later addresses some of these issues. So it will allow us to save more efficiently and retire early. First, the 4% rules assume a retirement horizon of 30 years. But most of you watching this are looking for early retirement. If you expect to live until your 90s and want to retire in your 40s, we should really be planning for a 50-year retirement horizon, not a 30-year retirement horizon. If you follow the 4% rule to retire early, you're most likely going to run out of money. Second, your yearly expenses could change during your retirement years. The typical person who retires at 65 might spend a lot on traveling in their 60s, then reduce spending as they become less mobile in their 70s, and then ramp up spending again in their 80s due to medical expenses. This gives rise to the smiley face expense curve. For an early retiree, expenses might go up immediately as you have kids, send them to college, go on vacation with your partner before winding down. The point is that spending patterns varies from person to person, and the 4% rule doesn't factor that in. Third, the 4% rule neglects how well financial markets are doing. In contrast, the dynamic rule would suggest that our withdrawal amount should depend on how well markets are doing. When markets are going strong and the return to our stocks and bonds are high, our withdrawal numbers should be higher than 4%. When the markets are weak, our withdrawal rate might have to dip below 4%. In this paper called Dynamic Retirement Withdrawal Planning, 2 finance professors compare a static versus a dynamic withdrawal rules. They show that a dynamic withdrawal rules that adapts based on market conditions reduces the chances of you running out of money and also allows you to increase your withdrawal rate by almost 50%. Fourth, the original paper by Bangan in 1994 only looks at the US stock data. This introduced an element of home bias. Many of you might hold a much more globally diversified portfolio, which can reduce volatility and increase return. A 2021 research paper by Vanguard shows that because a globally diversified portfolio reduces volatility, this also increases the chance of you not running out of money under the 4% rule. And fifth, the 4% rule doesn't consider other sources of income or the timing of this income at all. If you have set yourself up for a successful early retirement, you probably have some rental properties that will generate some income in retirement. You're also likely to have additional source of income like Social Security and your pension. Imagine this. Under the traditional rule, the rule would say that you need 1.25 million to spend 50K each year if you plan to retire for 30 years. But if you factor in the monthly rental income of $2,000, that means you really only need $50K subtract by $24K, which is $26K per year. This means you need $26K divided by 0.04, which is $650,000 to retire for 30 years. So, neglecting these sources of income can lead you to delay your early retirement more than is necessary. Part 3. Customize your retirement plan. By now, you should realize that there are a lot of factors to consider when planning for your retirement. At least a lot more factors than the simple 4% allows for. It's really hard to map out a financial plan without a full-blown financial model. That's why financial planning firms do for a high price. Luckily, there are some free tools online that help you understand how much you really need to save so that you don't delay your early retirement more than you need. These tools do a much better job than the simplistic 4% rule to give you an accurate representation of what's needed. For this demo, I'll be using the Financial Mentor retirement tool to demonstrate. I have no affiliation with the team at Financial Mentor. I'm just a big fan of how clear and easy to use this tool is. I'm going to go back a few years to Cody at age 27. When I badly wanted to retire early. Now I will use this tool to calculate how much I need to retire when I'm 35, an age that most people would consider a super early retirement. The first thing you need to do is fill out some personal information. I'm 27-year-old Cody. I wanted to retire at 35, and that's say I'm optimistic that I will live until 90, which means I'm planning to be retired for 55 years of my life. Next, let's fill the information about my savings. Let's say I have 100K saved up. Let's say that I want to spend roughly 50K per year when I retire. I'm going to leave the desired estate at death box empty. Desired estate at death is the amount I want to be able to leave to my spouse and kids. I definitely want to leave them something, so in reality it won't be zero, but that just keep it simple for now. Next, let's fill in some information about my monthly savings. Let's say that ever since I started working after uni at age 22, I put away $1,000 each month. And let's say I continue to do so until the age when I plan to retire, which is 35. You will notice that this tool allows you to add other contributions, which is great. If you have another source of monthly savings, please add them here. Next, we'll need to fill in some information on what we expect to receive for these savings. Let's say that I expect to get a return of 7.5% from age 27 until the day I die. Let's assume there are no second investment return, so I will set this rule to 0. And let's assume that the tax rate during retirement is 18% and inflation is at 2%. What I really like about this tool is that there's this advanced retirement planning section. In the first section, you can specify how you want the calculator to change your income requirements. Here, I have told it to decrease my annual saving by 5% every 10 years. You can also add any one-time or lump sum payments, like if you get some inheritance at some point. I'll leave this blank for now. And you can also add any post-retirement income streams. Let's say that I plan to have a few rental properties by age 40 that gives me $2,000 each month until I die. I'll leave the cost of living adjusted index empty for simplicity. Finally, we can click calculate and see how much we need. The result shows that 27-year-old Cody is not on track to retire at 35 at all. The left upper bar shows that I will have $295,000 saved up by 35. But the right upper bar shows that I actually need about $900,000 saved up to sustain the lifestyle I want. This means that I'm short of $600,000 to make this dream happen. The calculator shows that I need to save an additional $5,700 each month to fully fund this plan. Fully funded means that I'm not planning to rely on pension savings or Social Security. Let's tweak a few things to increase my chances of success. First, let's say that I will increase my monthly savings from $1,000 to $2,000. Second, let's say that I plan to start trading options consistently from age 35 onwards when I retire all the way until I'm 70. And let's say I'm confident I can make $3,000 per month from trading options, which is a figure that many of my students, even those with a full-time job, has been able to achieve. Now, let's calculate again. As you can see, the situation looks a lot more optimistic. Under these set of conditions, I will have about $400,000 saved up when I retire at 35. But I actually only need $375,000 saved up because of the additional sources of trading income on top of the rental income. This means I have got $40,000 extra for my plan to succeed. The key things I want you guys to take away is that many factors affect your early retirement plan and therefore how early you can retire. The key variables are your annual spending. How long do you plan to retire for? Your additional source of income in retirement such as rental properties and trading income. How big your portfolio is, which affects the annualized return. Something like the 4% rule is too simple because it only allows you to control one variable, your annual spending. This financial mentor retirement tool is also by no means perfect. There are a lot of assumptions that go into it, like the assumptions that the inflation rate will stay at 2% for my entire retirement. But it is a lot more sophisticated and allows you to input a lot more variables. You're not trying to look for the perfect answer. Rather, you're looking for the most important factors so that you can start making changes to your behavior today for a better tomorrow.